What is up, my good people of the internet? Happy to be here hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're here on Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate you ad-libbing with me this week as I was at the World Series seeing my Diamondbacks with my dad this week. We flew across the country to Arizona, and I want to check once again to see exactly what that line was. I could show you here on the thing. If we had taken if we had let me see if I can get it up here. If we had driven, it would have been 34 hours. There we go. Would have been 34 hours if we had driven the mileage, 2,342 miles, or in other words, a Big Ten game next season. Because the Big Ten, that's what they're doing now. That's the life that they're living in. The Big 12's living in that, and Syracuse as well. And Syracuse, good news, folks, in football, because of Cal and Stanford entering in, Syracuse no longer has to play Florida State every single season. I don't know how Dino and John Wildhack worked that out, but good for them that they don't have to worry about my guy Mike Norvell anymore. I don't even know the next time they play him, so that's it's good for them on their side. So with that being said, welcome to Wake Up Call. On Monday, we gave you the ACC tip-off takeover, and there were 40 different specials that aired my conversations with all 15 schools in the ACC for men's basketball, as well as the commissioner, Jim Phillips, and yesterday doing a very heartfelt live broadcast from the great state of Arizona, Wake Up Call's first broadcast from the western part of the United States and first broadcast from Arizona, and I got to do that with my dad right down the road from Chase Field. So I want to thank you for tuning in to all of our special surprise editions and great things that we've been able to share with you. And now it's time to get back to being back in studio and having some fun. So today, inside of MomPopsPopcorn.com is what's popping. We'll be starting the show with our Dolphin time, as we always do. Dolphin time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Today we have the LeMoyne College Dolphins men's and women's tennis head coach Jeff Lonczak, good friend of mine of many years, and he'll be joining me today to speak on the tennis program, give us some updates on both of the teams in men's and women's tennis at LeMoyne, as well as speak on his Bears, my Jaguars this morning, and then we'll jump into blessings in baseball around 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time with my guy Dukes Knutson, the press box manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, who joins me to speak on faith, speak on God, how we can help this world to become a better place, all while talking about sports, which is what Wake Up Call is all about. And, of course, we'll discuss my Arizona Diamondbacks as well as the Texas Rangers. And Arizona's bats finally woke up, but they were too deep in the hole last night. They're down 3-1. They got another game at home tonight, and hopefully, if they get this victory, which I hope that they do, then they will move on and they will go back to Texas for at least one game, if not two. So game 5 tonight of the World Series, and we'll be talking with Dukes Knutson about it. And then we'll round out the show as we always do on a Wednesday with the Fantasy Football in Focus, me giving you advice on every fantasy matchup all throughout this week of NFL Week 9 following the trade deadline. So with that being said, let me bring in picture-in-picture Mr. Lonczak. Jeff, how we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jeff, first and foremost, as we always have the opportunity to have these fireside chats, what are your thoughts on my Arizona Diamondbacks making it to the World Series? Because I don't think anybody had this.
Right. I mean, that's pretty unexpected for sure. For sure. My baseball, I've been following just because my Mets are, I don't know, just kind of a constant disappointment has been less. But I'm rooting for them. I'm always rooting for the National League team. So hopefully they can go back to Texas. That'd be huge.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it happens. And did you ever, when you look back on moments of things that you've gotten to do, with family, with your daughter, is there anything that you've gotten to do up to this point that sticks out as like that sports memory that you're just so happy that you did?
Well, yeah, two things quickly. My daughter's she's 10 and a half. So I brought her to her first Major League Baseball game. It was on the way to Cedar Point for like roller coaster she loves. But I brought her to a Guardians game. And it was a cool experience. Try to bring her some Americana, and then I tried to do that also with a couple of the boys on my team last year. One from France, one from England. I brought them to game one of the NLCS, uh, Atlanta against the Dodgers, and walk off home run, bottom of the ninth, 2-2 for Atlanta. It was insane. So that those two things are near and dear to my heart. Baseball is America. I love it.
Yeah, and you said baseball is America. Some people believe that still, and some people, maybe in a younger generation, don't believe that as much. Why do you believe it's still America's pastime?
Well, I mean, for me, it's like it's a total communal thing. Like, you know, it's like the Grand Canyon. Like, I can sit here and tell you what the Grand Canyon's like, but if you've never been there, you don't know. So when you walk into Fenway Park and you smell the smells of Fenway Park, it's I mean, it's just such an experience, and it's something that only a person who's been in there can understand.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, you definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Like Chase, I'd never been to Chase Field, and getting to go see my Diamondbacks, who I've been a fan since they came in 1998. I've been a fan forever of their franchise, and a huge Randy Johnson fan. So we go in there, and not only are we at Chase Field, but Randy Johnson's there to throw out the first pitch in the game, and I didn't know that that was going to happen when I got the tickets. And so, I mean, but it was just such an incredible experience, because then last night on the plane ride home, my dad and I are watching Game 4, and I looked at my dad right when the game started, and I go, familiar digs, right? Because now when we watch Chase Field on TV, we know where they are. We know exactly where we were sitting. I know the angles of where everything is. So I'm looking out at the board where it says Chase Field, home of the Diamondbacks, and I'm like, I know exactly where it is. I know what it feels like to be there. And so I think, to me, it's moments like that where you can see something for so long on television, but then you can actually live it. And when you're living it and experiencing it, it's just it's a different world. And then when you're watching it, it's cool to kind of sit with someone and tell them, like, oh, that's where this is, and this is this, and this is the angle on that. Like, you feel like you can just go right back into that moment. And I think sports does that for so many of us, right? Is that even people with Alzheimer's or dementia, people remember movies, they remember TV shows, they remember music, they remember sports. My grandmother, my G-mom and my mom's mom, she had dementia, and if you talk to her about Ernie Davis or Floyd Little or Dave Bing or anything like that, she could pick it right back up. And then my other grandmother, my Gammy, she had Alzheimer's, my dad's mom, and you would talk to her about a bunch of different things, and she might sit there. But then I got her a book of It's a Wonderful Life. I got her like the small book version of it, and as soon as you handed it to her, she's like, "Do you know who starred in this movie?" And she told you the female lead and the male lead, and it's like she goes from being silent about basic things to you hand her this book, and she smiles, and then she's looking at it, and she's like, "This was, this is the lead, and this was that, and how did you not know that?" And she's looking at you like, "How do you not know this information?" And it kind of like awoken something positive inside of her. And I just love that sports and music and entertainment in general can really create that for people.
Yeah, yeah, so amazing. Yeah, those moments, I guess they live on forever. I mean,
They tr-
inside of us for sure.
they transcend time. So with that being said, we want to have some of those tennis moments, and we've had the opportunity to have a lot of tennis moments leading up to this, where both of your teams have had success. You and I have talked about assembling these teams and going all over the world to make that possible and make that happen. I know that you have some fundraising or something coming up here for the tennis world. So I'd love to, before we got into some details about both of the teams, to share what you have going on and why people should support the men's and women's tennis programs at LeMoyne.
Yeah, we're doing something on campus. Pickleball's huge in the Syracuse area, and we have a pretty loyal following that actually participates. I think it's Wednesdays and Fridays up at the rec center up on campus. So yeah, we're doing $25 a person. We're gonna have some pizza, some prizes. We're gonna try to get up to 40 people. Proceeds are gonna go to our programs, and what we're really trying to do is one of the things we noticed at regionals is, everybody would set up their iPad and their tripod behind their own court and record their matches. So that's just something we're trying to get. 2 or 3 of those would be huge. Yeah, I mean, it's already gaining traction. You know, we're already getting a lot of support from the LeMoyne community. So it's going to be a cool event. We're really excited.
Yeah, and like you said, you kind of taking in what you've seen in other places and wanting to have that for your program. Just, what that would mean to the program to have something as simple as that, but to have the tripod and have the ability to tape and film these things, just what it can do for you as a coach, what it could do for your student athletes, and what it could do for, people in general that want to connect with the program.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, the in-game coaching, it's pretty critical, but a lot of times, like, you're sitting there in the course of an hour and a half match and you're constantly giving criticisms about what your player could do. I mean, I don't necessarily think that that's always a good thing. So I'm not that way. I try to remain positive. I try to focus on some of the things that they're doing well, but I'm seeing these things, and to have them to be able to capture it on video where I can sit somebody down and maybe make a little 5-minute edit of exactly certain things I want tactic wise for them to notice and think about is just, your game will go up pretty quick, pretty significantly. And yeah, I mean, we've been lucky with the beginning of this D1 transition and this season in particular that around campus, there's just more support for us, up top, with the faculty. I have a new faculty rep named Eileen Angelini. She's unbelievable. She's, she was on the ATP tour as a translator. She drove Michael Chang and Lendl around. Like she's loves tennis. So I mean, she's been a huge supporter for us, and it's just been cool for the whole community to kind of get behind us.
And like you said, I mean, having somebody at LeMoyne that can appreciate and respect what you're trying to do because they already have a love and a passion for that. Just what that has done for you, what it's done for your student athletes in the program overall, to have an extra resource, an extra mind, an extra person there, an extra supporter, but also beyond that, to have somebody who you don't have to teach tennis to who already loves tennis.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes, it's hard to not feel a little bit like you're on an island, because our home facility is off campus. So generally, like, people, it's not easy for people to come, especially students. Some of them don't have vehicles. So, I mean, we're just not going to get that kind of following. But, when somebody goes out of their way to, make the program a part of their lives, I mean, it's great. And for somebody that's a tennis person to do that too is huge. And I think it's gonna reverberate throughout the community because, Eileen's got a lot of friends, and now pickleball is huge. So I think even that support is going to be, received greater by us.
Yeah, and like you said, to have that support and have that passion toward it is huge. And I know you and I were talking about things before with facilities and having to be off campus when you're practicing, you're training, you're playing. What are your hopes for the future now that this is a Division I institution? Do you have hopes that something could come about on campus where we could create an environment where LeMoyne student athletes for men's and women's tennis don't have to leave, so students and faculty in the community can come to the Heights and see these teams play? Is that something that you feel is viable, is real, is tangible at some point?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, some of my coolest memories as a player at LeMoyne were Saturday at noon. We had a soccer game going on. We had softball practice, and people would just come. People would come with their dogs, and then they would stop and, oh, hey, look, tennis match going on, and they'd sit there and watch some tennis. Every day of practice, there would be 2 courts taken up by faculty. We would always leave them some courts just so they could play. And I think that that's something that would continue to happen if we did have courts. I mean, I do see it as a very good possibility. I think we can monetize it as a program. It would be huge for recruiting, and our faculty would be way into it because we always had faculty on the courts. Back in the day when I was a player.
Yeah, so high hopes for what we could do on campus for LeMoyne. tennis for men's and women's tennis coming up here in the not too distant future. But we speak about high hopes, and I got asked this question a lot. Is LeMoyne ready? Will they be ready? Are they ready for Division I? Can they compete in Division I? What can they bring to the table in Division I? And the women's soccer team responded by winning Division I games and tying in Division I opportunities. The men's soccer team has put them in a place to be in the postseason in their first season in Division I. And then on the tennis side, the men have started off with having a couple different things. There was the Binghamton Championships, the NateReynolds.com Binghamton Championships, as well as the ITA Northeast Regional. But from that, you were in Olean, New York, up against St. Bonaventure and Niagara. You defeated St. Bonaventure 4-3. You defeated Niagara 4-3 as well. Both, those matches coming on October 14th, exactly a week before my birthday, and on the day I was supposed to be born. So congratulations on those first two victories, St. Bonnie's and Niagara. Not only did you defeat those teams, but we're building these New York matchups, these New York rivalries, these New York opportunities, and you're 2-0 against them already. So first and foremost, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, my men's, way of thinking, we're planning on winning our conference right off the bat. We've built a program that is we like to think we're pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We know how to win. We're old. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing all the time to say, but we're experienced. We've been through the wars. I got a junior that's starting, three grad students that are seniors, fifth year guys. We know what we have to do, and my message is kind of yeah. I mean, we could be immortal. I mean, you can't. This stuff doesn't happen. You come into D1 first season, you win a conference title, you win a conference championship. I mean, these things don't happen. So the guys know this, and we're gonna really give it our best effort. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then we look on the women's side of things, and the Union College Invitational, and then you were at Binghamton. Victory there. It counts as the first NEC win of any program at LeMoyne in the history of LeMoyne College athletics in the Northeast Conference, which is your conference now that you moved to Division I. LeMoyne women's tennis recorded the first victory. The first sport to do it is LeMoyne women's tennis. Just what that's meant to you, that not only did you get that victory right out of the gate on September 17th at Binghamton University 5-2, who is an associate member of the NEC and just came in for women's tennis for this season, just what that means to you to get that win right off the bat, right off the jump, do it on the road, do it against Binghamton, do it against somebody in the state of New York, and to be that first victory that LeMoyne can celebrate in the NEC. There's a lot of great that's in that. And I know it's one tennis match, but it's one tennis match that's going to live on forever. And it's a tennis match that I would imagine helps your women's tennis team to see that they can compete.
Yeah, it was really exciting, and we had a great time doing it, and that was the message going in. To be honest, like we wanted to be that program that got that first win, and they stepped up and they were able to do it. We're still learning about each other a lot on the women's side. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, really really young squad. But yeah, I mean, Binghamton, on the men's and women's side is going to be our rival going forward. That's kind of who, in a way, we match ourselves up against. I mean, the profiles of the schools are a little bit different, but program-wise, I mean, we feel that they're, we should be equal or hopefully better than those guys. So yeah, it was a huge victory for us. Everybody was really pumped about it, and we're looking forward to more chances to play more New York D1 teams.
What is it about the program at Binghamton that makes you believe that will be your rival? Like you said, you feel like you match up with them well. You feel like this is a team that you can get above from season to season. What is it about Binghamton? I know they're an hour away, so that rivalry is not too hard, right down 81. but why you feel like this can really be a true rivalry when you look at teams in the state of New York. Why Binghamton?
I mean, their facility is amazing. So they bought the Binghamton Tennis Center, which a friend of mine owned for his whole life, and the university bought it. So it came with 6 indoor courts, eight outdoor hard true courts, clay courts, and they did over the clay courts and turned them into hard courts, and they're beautiful. They're brand new. You know, it's awesome to play there. Yeah, and we're hoping someday we can have something like that. You know, and I think at the end of the day, if we're beating them, competing with them closely, you know, I think hopefully that'll come to fruition.
And the other part of all this is the fact that when we look at the men's and women's tennis schedules, that you have games where, you know, you have matches and opportunities where your teams are going to be in the same place at the same time. When you go to Siena, bring in both teams to face off against Siena College. When Morgan State comes to town, both teams are going to have matches against them. Just what you could say. I know you and I spoke about this before in creating the schedule and having to create it rather quickly, but to know that, you know, you're not separating the two because you're coaching both programs, which is a difficult task in and of itself to have not only one but two. So to coach both the women's and men's tennis teams and then to have these opportunities on the road together, at home together, just what that can create for you and, you know, what that could do for the student athletes as well. Because you said, you know, sometimes not having facilities on campus to have that support. Well, obviously the men and women have done a great job of supporting each other. And when they're playing on the same day, that's something that can be even more tangible, even more real.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really exciting for us. I mean, you know, it's going to become more of a single team in a way. You know, I mean, the women are going to feel great about the men when they're doing well. You know, the men are going to bring up the women if they're having a tough match. You know, we're gonna all eat together on the road all the time, which is important. Yeah, it's going to be great. You know, there was always a little bit of a divide, being that the women were in the fall, the men are in the spring. But now, I mean, we're gonna travel together. So I mean, it's great. We have all these different cultures. We have all these different countries represented in our programs. These guys can learn more from each other, you know, on a regular basis by sitting next to, you know, Lilia from Rabat, you know, learning about her and stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be awesome beyond just, you know, 36-inch tennis net.
Yeah, and you have both of these teams with winning records to start off Division I play. The men's team 2-0 and the women's team 2-1, and you are off match-wise until January for the men, the end of January for the men. January 27th at Binghamton University for their match against Binghamton in the NEC, and the women are off until their home match in the NEC on February 2nd against Merrimack. So what's the in-between look like for you, knowing that both teams have started off with winning records, both teams have multiple victories in Division I, and now you have time in between that these teams will not be on the court as far as a match goes until the new year. So what's this in between look like?
So yeah, I got to make sure that everybody's engaged, and it feels like that's happening. So I'll book courts for people. You know, according to NCAA rules, I can't participate at practice, but I can get these guys. I can try to get these guys out there. I mean, I can't drive them there, but I can get them out there. So they're into it. They're playing. We also have, you know, weights. We got weights a couple of days a week. Try to keep them physically fit. Yeah, I mean, you know, that January 27th match, I mean, to have a more critical match first, never happened in our program's history. So, I mean, our men are completely focused on that. The women have a doubleheader their first match, Colgate and Merrimack. So everybody's going to get a chance to play. So it's going to be exciting. We'll know pretty quickly, you know, who came back ready to go, because we're going to have to start playing each other immediately. So, yeah, and then on top of it, like, there's a lot of recruiting going on. I got a couple verbal commits on the men's side to come in the spring, which a lot of coaches don't do. Now it's a matter of getting them here. And that can be complicated when you're talking about I-20s and transfer records and multiple colleges and things of that nature. So I'm still cracking. I like to surprise people in the spring by bringing in some people that they didn't know we had. So it's exciting all the way around for sure. Even though it's the off season.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you about that because, like you said, you can bring in student athletes. You have the opportunity to do that, and the fact that you're always being advantageous with that, and I love that. I love the fact that you're always on the recruiting trail. You're always looking. You're always wanting to build and help these teams to get better and to improve. So you start off with these winning records on both sides. And the thing is, you've had success at Division Two. We've seen what LeMoyne can do. We saw a younger women's tennis team start to grow and start to learn. We saw a men's team that was competing for multiple years in the NCAAs, making it to the nation's tournament. And now you're in Division One, and proof is in the pudding of recruiting student athletes that can play anywhere. The coaching caliber that you have, the dynamic that you create, the culture and environment that's created, and the student athletes that you look for, it's proof in the pudding. And like I was telling you off the air, people asking me over and over again, is LeMoyne ready? How are they going to be ready? How are they going to compete? And I said, listen, it's going to take time in certain areas, but there's teams that are prepared to compete right away. There's teams that are going to go into this move that may surprise you. And I said men's and women's soccer. And then you look at your success on the tennis courts. I mean, Jeff, to have a winning record going into the new year, not in one but both programs, is a huge message to LeMoyne alumni, to the student body, to the community, to the faculty, to prospective students and student athletes. And it's also a warning signal to the rest of Division One that LeMoyne is not coming here to be anybody's little brother or little sister. And I think that's huge.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's been a work in progress. I mean, you gotta love if you're a coach, you gotta love what you do, and you gotta try to figure out ways to be positive when it doesn't look that way. So yeah, I mean, we're stoked for the opportunity to be a D1 program. My players find it as an honor. I mean, some of them were overlooked. Let's be honest. Some of them were overlooked by D1 programs. Some of them wanted to be D1 athletes from the beginning. Some of them were overlooked. Some of them were at D1 programs and they weren't good fits. So now, I mean, those type of people, that type of way of thinking. I mean, it's just it gives you hope, man, and hope is what can bring that success.
Yeah. What does it say? Hope breeds eternal. So you never know what hope is going to give you and what hope can bring to all of us. And the tennis teams, with many thanks to you and the student athletes, have given a lot of hope to the community, not just this season for both, but in general. And I implore you to support LeMoyne men's and women's tennis. I implore you to support them with the fundraising that they're doing here now. And I look forward to seeing you all in January and February once these matches get back going again in these seasons, that you'll go down to Binghamton and that you'll be here in Central New York as well to see both of these teams compete. Fantastic teams. I love going out to the matches because you see not only the men's team supporting the women's team and the women's team supporting the men's team, but I've seen the soccer team out there. You see, different teams and coaches come out and support and show love, and that just means a lot to me. It says a lot about LeMoyne, so continue to support them. But folks, I guess I can answer the will LeMoyne be ready? Yeah, I think they will be. I think they're going to be okay. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to this conversation now for a couple minutes. You and I to jump to the NFL. The trade deadline, believe it or not, was yesterday. I feel like that's happening way too quick. We're in NFL Week 9. We're halfway through the season almost, and which is crazy to even think about that as well. And a bunch of trades have happened. Washington is cleaning house as far as it almost looks like, hey, we're getting ready to redo our entire team. Chase Young, Montez Sweat. We're going to let all these guys go. We're going to let these, the one thing that we thought we could count on is defense and the defensive line. And now they're letting all of that, you just kind of go to the wayside and making these moves for the future, getting draft picks. the Raiders are the first to fire a coach. They're not waiting until Black Monday. They're not waiting until half the season is over, getting rid of their coach and their general manager. Any surprises so far this season, be it a Raiders firing or, I mean, looking at Josh McDaniels, he was the coveted guy, right? Everybody wanted the offensive guru under Bill Belichick, and now the question is, where does he go? Does he go back to coordinating? Does he go back to the Patriots? What happens for him? And did you have anything during the trade deadline? I know Chicago got involved a little bit. Anything that shocked you? Any thoughts on trade deadline and Josh McDaniels and the GM getting sent their pink slip from the Raiders?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Raiders organization has been pretty strange, for the last few years. Yeah, I don't know. McDaniels, yeah, you said he was extremely coveted. I mean, there was years when people wanted him, and he just stayed with the Pats as the OC. So I don't know. He made a lot of mistakes. I thought that he shouldn't have, just in terms of calling the games. I thought there was some time management issues that he had that I was really surprised that a guy of his level would have. So I can understand the firing there. I'm very surprised that we traded for Sweat. I mean, it's kind of like deja vu, because last year we traded for Chase Claypool for our top of the second round pick, and now he's gone. Yeah, so I mean, I don't really understand it. I mean, from a perspective of we get no pressure on the quarterback, I understand it. But from the perspective of you're a 2-6 team, you're hiring a guy who is only under contract through the end of the year, so you're going to have to pay him. I'm confused. I think the 49ers getting Chase Young, I mean, that was a huge hit for them. They've had some strange things going on the last 3 games that they lost. I still think they're one of the best teams in the league. So I mean, having now another guy off the edge is they're going to be even tougher. Yeah, and actually the Seahawks getting Williams from the Giants is they're pretty good on the defensive line, but I think they're going to continue to get better. You guys, the Jags, getting another interior lineman for depth. I mean, that's huge. I think it's going to be exciting. I have no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl, which is cool to say.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco, we look at, they've lost 3 games in a row, and here they are. So, a bunch of people calling them the best team in the country. You have the Jets, who people counted out about, 40 seconds into their season, and they have shown that they could do a lot, especially defensively. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, my team that you brought up, and 6-2 on a 5-game winning streak after losing to Houston for the 6th year in a row at home. And, I mean, what they've done since then. The Dallas Cowboys, who have been an enigma, but they'd be in the playoffs if it started today. The division that I said before the season started is the worst division in football, as far as the fact that I don't think that a ton of wins are going to come out of this division, and somebody's going to get to the top, maybe not having a great record. The Atlanta Falcons are 4-4, and they lead their division. They would be the 4th team in the NFC to make the playoffs if they started today, and they would be able to play at home, which is absolutely insane. San Fran has taken a backseat to the Seattle Seahawks. The Kansas City Chiefs, Miami Dolphins, and Jacksonville Jaguars, as well as the Baltimore Ravens, all have the same record at 6-2. That the 6-2, the Jaguars, Ravens, Dolphins, and Chiefs have joined the Detroit Lions for the second best record in the league. The only team that's better are the Eagles that are 7-1. Nobody's undefeated. The Arizona Cardinals are 1-7. The Panthers are 1-6. The Patriots are the worst team in the AFC at 2-6, below the Broncos, the Raiders, who just fired the former Patriots offensive coordinator. They're below the Colts. They're below the Chargers, the Titans, the Texans. So some things are crazy, right? The Bill Belichick's at the bottom here, and that the Raiders have already fired their coach. But then then you look at the Carolina Panthers, number 1 pick, and they're 1-6 right now. And then you look at the Detroit Lions and my Jags and the Dolphins with a healthy Tua, God bless. And these teams are all performing well. Who's been your biggest surprise, and who's been your biggest sad point of the season so far? Who's been the positive surprise, and who's been the not so great surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it with the Jets. I mean, I think everybody after that 40 seconds when Rodgers goes down with the Achilles is like they're done. And I mean, Zach Wilson gets beat up by the press pretty regularly, and probably for good reason. Somehow their defense has just held up. They figure out ways to win 4-3. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I guess it's a homer pick, but I mean, I'm just disappointed in my Bears. I know Fields been out for a little bit. They're rocking a D2 former D2 quarterback right now, who's not that bad. But yeah, I mean, I was just hoping some of the acquisitions and some of the drafting would have helped them to get towards a 500 type record, but it's not looking so good.
Yeah, and this is a sad thing too. Former Syracuse running back David Walker was fired from the Chicago Bears, their running backs coach, for a behavioral issue over his behavior in the workplace. He had been reprimanded by Bears HR for his behavior, and a second such instance led to his firing. He's the second Bears assistant coach to leave the staff this season. Former defensive coordinator Alan Williams resigned on September 20th to, quote, take care of my health and family, end quote. So Syracuse connection to the Bears is now done with David Walker. And that's interesting there, too, as they do not have a running backs coach that they started the season with. So the Bears are making some moves and making some changes. The Bears, as I said, are 2-6. The Jaguars are 6-2. What do my Jaguars need to do to continue winning? And what do the Bears need to do to flip the script, in your opinion?
I love the way you guys are playing defense. And I think Etienne is just, I mean, the running game and getting him the ball out of the backfield, getting the skill position guys involved. You got to keep feeding Ridley because I think he's a beast. I mean, you guys are doing all the right things, to be honest. For us, I mean, I don't really know to what to say. I mean, there's one thing we kind of have. The interior of our offensive line isn't terrible, so running up the middle could be a play. But I mean, it worked one game, and then the next game, the other team just stacked the box, and we couldn't do it. There just wasn't enough bodies. So yeah, I don't know. We got to figure out something. And like you kind of highlighted with the some of the coaching situations, I couldn't understand Williams. It was like he left midweek. You know what I mean? It's like we're gonna have a walkthrough practice. You know what? I think I'm gonna leave. It just so I think there's a lot of things going on in the front office that I don't know could be fixed or could be worked on. So I don't know. I'm looking for all sorts of suggestions on how the Bears can get better. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll have to see as it goes. You know, Jaguars, as I've said throughout the season, one of the top 3 defenses in the country. Not because I'm a Jaguars fan. Everybody knows on this show I am impartial. I love my Jaguars in the comfort of my own home. I do not hide that I am a Jaguar supporter. But when I'm on the broadcast, it's a cardinal sin for me to simply pick the Jaguars, to simply think the Jaguars will win every single game. I do think that there's threats, and there's definitely going to be some good games coming up. I would also like to note that I believe this is the first time in the history of the Jaguars that they have a Thursday night, Monday night, and Sunday night primetime football game all in the same season, which is a beautiful thing to see. Many years they don't even have one. Now they have all 3. So you saw Thursday night football, Sunday night football, and Monday night football will be coming up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to let everybody know when that's going to be happening. They finally get a bye week. They played 2 weeks in London. Then they had to come home and play immediately on a Sunday. Then they had to play on a Thursday. It was like the NFL was trying to make them fail, and the NFL failed miserably. The Jaguars won every single one of those games. They are 5-0 in their last 5 games. 6-2 overall. Their next game is going to be against the 49ers at home in Jacksonville on November 12th, which I will, God willing, be there for year number 13, as I've covered all of their home games this season. Then they will have a Monday night matchup against, I want to make sure I don't miss the one that's coming up here. Yeah, so they'll have a Monday night matchup that'll be against the Bengals on December 4th, and then they will have a Sunday night matchup on December 17th against the Ravens, as for some odd reason Lamar Jackson will be coming back to Jacksonville 2 years in a row that Baltimore's coming to Jacksonville. Normally it doesn't happen like that. So we'll get to see Lamar Jackson again. It was one of the best games the Jaguars played last season, one of the top 4 games that they had last year and comeback victories, and 4 of the greatest games they played in their less than 30 years in the NFL. And now they'll have a chance to go up against the Ravens again. So they still got Joe Burrow coming to town, Lamar Jackson coming to town, Brock Purdy coming to town. We'll see what quarterback with the Titans, could be Will Levis, coming to town for that. And they will have number 1 overall pick Bryce Young coming to town in their last home game of the season on the last day of the year, December 31st. So a lot of good things coming up. Hopefully the Bears can make some good moves and get back on it. I picked the Detroit Lions to win this division, and I continue to hold on that. But hopefully the Bears can make it interesting, as we've seen a division that has a bunch of struggles here, and I think the Bears could leapfrog the Green Bay Packers and could get up there with the Vikings, as the Vikings have gone through some woes here with injuries and their quarterback Kirk Cousins going down, unfortunately. So my hope to your Bears, my continued hope for my Jaguars, and always a lot of hopes and well wishes to LeMoyne for all of their sports, including men's and women's tennis. Congratulations on starting off your seasons in Division I with winning records going into the new year, for making history in the NEC, and for doing what you always do, Jeff, which is you stay humble. You're always a good guy. You always treat me with respect and kindness. You always make time for me. And at the same time, you're one of the best coaches we have in our community. So thank you for that.
Thanks for those compliments. I always look forward to chatting with you, for sure. Tennis, football, anything, man, for sure. I love it.
So we will be talking soon, you and I, and we'll have a little fireside chat coming up. But give my best to your daughter. Happy Halloween to you all again. What was your daughter for Halloween?
She was a zombie bride. She loves the horror stuff.
Oh, okay. She was a zombie bride. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. She had the blood and all the stuff. She did her own makeup. She's something else.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Good for her. So that's awesome. Maybe she can watch The Walking Dead when she gets a little bit older. So definitely, or she could just step outside America and see The Walking Dead. I mean, whatever it is. Sometimes I watch The Walking Dead to not have to think about what's happening in today's America. So, I don't know. Maybe having a crossbow like Daryl Dixon and a really sweet ride and a cool jacket, maybe that's the way I'm going. I don't know. So so you tell your daughter that if there is a zombie apocalypse, that zombie bride will have protection from this Walking Dead, whatever I choose to be at that point. So
all right, Danny's got her back. That's big.
I always got her back. So big time shout out and many thanks. Happy Halloween. God bless to everything that you're doing with the tennis programs and your fundraiser. And I look forward to talking with you soon, Jeff.
Thanks. Yeah, best for you and your family as well. And thanks again.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Bye.
That coming here from Jeff Lonczak one more time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break, and when we come back, we're going to have my guy Dukes Knutson joining me on the broadcast for Blessings and Baseball, and it's our bi-monthly segment that we bring to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, which is exactly what we say it is, Blessings and Baseball, giving us the opportunity to have conversations about what matters to us and what's important to us. And, speaking about faith as well as speaking about sports and giving you the opportunity to connect with both at the same time in a really unique and fun atmosphere. So it's always a beautiful thing to be able to do this, and we're going to do it right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Thanks for being with us.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. We'll be back after this fast break.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and it is time for Blessings and Baseball with my guy Dukes Knutson joining me here on the broadcast, picture in picture, with the opportunity to have our conversation as we always do bi-monthly here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We had to ad-lib a little bit over these last couple weeks, and we had to ad-lib this morning as we got going, so I will say this as I am a man of my word. So Dukes, I apologize for making you wait this morning, as I know our first segment there ran a little bit long, but I'm always happy to have you here, and I appreciate and value your time, so I apologize for making you wait.
I have a word for you to start off today, Dan. Psalm 147, verses 1 and 3. How good it is to sing praises to our God, how pleasant and fitting to praise him. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And I know you're a little bit wounded here the last couple of days, but hey, if your biggest problem in life is being down 3-1 in the World Series, you're in good shape, buddy.
Yeah, and no, I mean, and that's 1,000,000% correct, right? If the worst thing that we have to deal with in life is that our favorite team is down 3-1, I say that to Lily all the time, my dog, when she'll just be laying there on the bed next to me, looking ever so calm and sweet, and I'm rubbing her belly. And I always tell her, I say, I hope that this is the worst that you ever have. I hope that this terrible life continues, so yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. And I know Blessings of Baseball gives us an opportunity to have these conversations about where sports meets life, which is what we're all about here. I'm so elated. I mean, I'm wearing the same sweatshirt that the team wears. I got my hat on with my Diamondbacks here. I spent enough money for me to not tell you what that number was, and my dad and I had the experience of a lifetime. So I've never been to the western part of the United States, never been to Arizona, never been to Chase Field, never seen the Diamondbacks at home. I saw them one time on the road in Toronto. So to be able to do that and do it all with my dad, and to say that the first time that I went to see my team play at home was in the World Series with my father. Like you said, Dukes, and quoting the Bible, which is a perfect segue of blessings in baseball. What can I be upset about? If we lose, oh my gosh, my team lost in the World Series. They were the second best team in the entire nation out of 30 teams. What will I do with myself? I probably just wake up the next morning by the grace of God and smile because my team gave me a bunch of World Series gear to wear for the first time in 22 years. I think I'm happy, even though we lost the last couple. We're in the World Series, so I'm not really listening to any hate speech that's out there.
Good for you. And there's a lot of people watching baseball these days who would love to be in your position. So take heart in that, and you might want to reread the story of David and Goliath today. Look, there's still hope for you, and so take heart in that, Dan.
Yeah, and to all the fans out there that might say anything negative about my Diamondbacks, my response to you is, where is your team watching from? You know what I mean? It's that's the thing. There's a lot of armchair, quarterbacks, a lot of armchair dugout people, however you want to call it in baseball. But the reality of the fact is, the Arizona Diamondbacks have waited 22 years for this moment. To the other 28 teams that aren't in the World Series, I love y'all. I love the fans because I know that you are working hard, including the Tampa Bay Rays, who I've gotten to spend time with. I know that these players are working, these managers are working, the coaches are working, the front office staff, the press box managers like Dukes Knutson. I know that everybody wants to make the World Series. So I put no disrespect on anybody's name that's not in it, and I put total respect on everybody that is in it. And to the Rangers, I know that you're a tough task. I know you're a tall task. You got Corey Seager. If not for Shohei Ohtani, we're talking about Seager being the AL MVP without question. So, there's a lot of good to be had here. And I'm hoping and praying the best for the two teams that are left and obviously for the 30 as we step forward. Dukes, here's a question that's come in. Somebody had said that they would love to know your thoughts of the live in dugout. Let's see here. The live in dugout interviews of the players by Fox during the World Series and playoffs. Do you like that there are people in the dugout interviewing the players while things are going on?
I am so glad that came up, Daniel. I absolutely hate it, and I don't use that word too often. I come from a coach's point of view. I was a high school coach for 34 years, and I always try to get my players to focus and concentrate, and I just don't see how these in-game interviews are helping them do their job diligently. In my mind, it's nothing but a distraction. I feel like virtually every question they ask is appropriate for pregame and postgame interviews.
Yeah.
And there's no need for the in-game interview. During the regular season on ESPN, it bothered me a great deal when they're miking the players not in the dugout, but the players who are out on the field. And again, they're trying to do a job, and yet they're communicating with these announcers in the booth. And many times the conversation, it goes away from the game, and they're talking about other things. And I just find it abhorrent that the media, in the name of ratings and whatever, would consider interrupting these players and coaches, interrupting their job, just to be the first to ask them, again, many times these pretty pointless questions.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, and I second you on this as a media member, that it's ridiculous. It's stupid. I mean, there's no, and I would go beyond baseball. I could go into football. I could go into basketball. I'm watching a college basketball game, and it's during a timeout, and the guy that asked the question loves it. He loves that there's interviews. But during the timeout in a basketball game in the NCAA tournament. You're like, hey, Coach K, what are your thoughts on that? And it's like, the guy's in a timeout. I mean, they asked Mark Few for Gonzaga a question during the tournament while the game's going on. And I'm thinking in my head, like, does this guy have somebody else running his timeout? Has he already implemented the play? And Coach, what do you need to do to win the game? Coach, how does it feel to be down by 15? You know, I mean, they're not going to tell you any scheming stuff. They're not going to tell you anything that has to do with the game itself because they're playing the game right now. And then beyond that, I look at, not even beyond that, but as a parallel, I guess I should say, I look at football and the halftime stuff. Hey, Dino, what's going on with your team? Well, we're not running the ball well. What do we need to do? Well, you need to run the ball a little bit better. Okay, and then what happens if we do that? Well, then we have a chance to win the game. All right, Dino, thanks. And it's the same thing in the World Series. How do you feel about that home run you hit? Terrible. Awful. I'd love to take it back. Why would I do anything in my power to try and make my team better? Shame on me. How dare me? I'm going to start answering questions. That's what I would do. You know, Corbin, you haven't played well in the last couple games. Your bat's been quiet. Why? Because I haven't hit the ball. What do you need to do? I probably need to hit the ball. Thanks, Corbin. Back to you, Bob. It doesn't make any sense. And that's the thing that, I find to be ridiculous and they also have to watch when they're miking these guys up because they mic'd up Seager. Well, they mic'd up the dugout. And when Seager was coming back slapping hands last night, there's guys that are like calling him nicknames. There's guys that might be swearing a little bit, like good effing shot. And, so you got to make sure that you're watching all that stuff. I mean, I agree with you, Dukes. I think that before a game, sure. After the game, fine. But in the middle of a football game or a basketball game, the coaches aren't going to give you anything and they ask the same questions. And when it's in the middle of a game in general, I think it's just, would you want to have somebody on the pitch in soccer and say, hey, we're going to go to the Italy coach here. We're going to go to the Italy manager here at the World Cup, and we're going to be here. There's 5 minutes left in the game, coach. What are your thoughts? I feel like he would be like, get the bleep, 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 bleep out of my way. I mean, who wants you in their dugout, on their sideline, in their face? And if a coach is winning, they're going to tell you that they're happy they're winning, and if they're losing, they're going to tell you that they don't like that they're losing. I don't understand what we gain from these conversations.
Well, and you can tell, Dan, that many of these coaches, more so in basketball, as you alluded to, they're irritated that they have to stop and talk to these interviewers during the game. You can tell that they're trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. I imagine that the networks who are doing these things have written this into. I know they're paying millions and millions of dollars to televise these events. And I'm sure they've written this into their contracts that we will have access to these guys. Yeah. But again, I can't imagine a coach who's, say, yeah, let me take 2 minutes out of the game time here so I can talk to these reporters. Just let the athletes do their job. And again, I say that's what pregame and postgame shows are for. Yeah. And so let's just get back to everybody do your job.
Yeah, and again, and I know that Greg just wrote in and said, there's great insight in game 2 about, making a hit and something like that and getting a home run off of Kelly and whatnot. It's also something that they can tell you after the game. It's also something they can tell you when the game is over. I'm a broadcaster telling you that there's nothing inside of me and even at the end of the game, can we stop asking questions? This is my belief in my life. This has been my belief forever. Don't ask a coach or a player a question that you know the answer to. Right? How does it feel to win? Horrible. How does it feel to lose? Fantastic. Questions that and obviously I'm being facetious, but questions that you can answer. Can we please stop ending a game saying, how does it feel to hit a home run? Gabrielle, how does it feel? It feels great. Your team won. What does that mean to you? It means a lot. What do you think about the victory? Think it's good. Now you're moving on to the World Series. What are you going to do with that? Probably celebrate. I mean, I don't like, I tune it out now. I mean, I understand that it's kind of natural to say, what is this? And I know that, I've asked guys about what is and girls about the moments, right? This moment, what does this moment mean to you? But to me, that's a bigger thing, right? This could mean like from my childhood when I was growing up, my mom used to take me to practice and now we won a championship. So the how does it feel to win question or how does it feel to lose? I mean, I would never ask that. I go into the Jacksonville locker room. When Jacksonville lost to the Texans, I could promise you I didn't ask any one of those players what it felt like to lose. He probably would have cussed me out, slammed his locker, and left. I mean, there's an art of asking questions and an art of living in this world of the media. And I think that we've just gotten to a point of, hey, if we're first to do it or if we're the only ones that have it, then like we have this great information. But you go back and read the story and it's like, what was great about the information? I could tell you he was happy he won. I could tell you he loved hitting home runs. I could tell you that this moment probably feels good for him. But go deeper into it. What is, you came from the Dominican Republic. You can do some research. You came from a family that had to flee the Dominican, and it took forever for your mom to get her citizenship. And when she got it and came to America, you wanted to give back to her. And since you've come into the league, you bought her a house, you got her out of the neighborhood that she was in, you built a life for your mom. What does this moment mean to you and your mother for everything that she gave? And then he'll probably start crying and say, she gave me everything, and now I'm giving it back to her, Mom. We did it together. I would hear that more than I want to hear somebody tell me it feels good to hit a home run. I'm sure it does. Why wouldn't it?
Dan, I went to journalism school back in the 70s, a long time ago. But I still cringe when I hear you call it the art of interviewing, and that's exactly what it is. It's the art of interviewing, and I feel that so many interviewers today are violating the principles I was brought up with. The number one that comes up to my mind was don't ask quantitative questions, but yet all the time I'm hearing, well, how exciting was that? Or how important was that? I mean, those are quantity, am I supposed to say, well, it was just a little bit important, or it was this much important, or it was just a little bit exciting, or it was really exciting? Those are pointless questions, and yet they're being asked all the time. And so I would like to see a higher degree of reporters practicing the art of interviewing.
Yeah, well, and that's what it comes down to is, it's not. And I think when you sit down and you have more of a deeper conversation, you can kind of expand on things. But I'm always thinking in my head, like, what can I do? What can I say? And I had one guy ask me one time, he said, you never have a notebook. And I said, I know. And he was like, well, I like that you don't. I said, okay. He said, why don't you have a notebook? I said, well, Jerome Smith, running back for Syracuse. I said, I don't have a notebook because I do this crazy thing called listening. Yeah, I hear you. I know what I want to ask. I know what I want to talk about, but I'm going to let you take me places. We're having a conversation, right? We're having a conversation. I didn't write down every question I'm going to ask you today, Dukes. Every topic we're going to talk about, send it to you ahead of time so that we can, make this thing look pretty and cute and this and that. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. All I knew is that I wanted to say to you, because I know you would appreciate it, I wanted to say I am so grateful that I went to the World Series with my dad. I will never regret doing something like that. I love that I bought all this gear. I'm going to rock this gear if we win. I'm going to rock this gear if we lose. I put up a post this morning saying, win or lose, I love y'all. I mean, I'm a Diamondback fan through and through. So to me, we can all have opinions, but at the end of the day, guys are living their dreams right now. I mean, they're at the top of the heap right now. The Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks, good for you. I mean, good for you guys. Good for your franchises. Good for your fan bases. Good for your communities. It's incredible and it's amazing. And with that, kind of while we're talking about a bunch of different things, I love to get your thoughts on this, Dukes, since you and I have watched sports and been around sports for such a long time. How do you react to when you hear, in any sport, but we heard it this year in baseball, well, if the Rangers make it against the Diamondbacks, it's not going to be a really good marketable World Series. This isn't going to be something that sponsors like. TV stations might not like this matchup. It would behoove them to have bigger markets and better matchups. Nobody wants Arizona in the World Series because it's not going to make as much money for Major League Baseball and for Fox as it could have. How do you respond to people saying that the World Series, the Super Bowl, the NCAA tournament needs to end with teams in big markets that can give us a reason to watch?
Well, I think a couple of things are happening. Number one is the nature of the game is becoming secondary to the TV markets, and by that I mean that a pure baseball fan. I was talking to a friend last night who was saying much the same you're saying. He said he's a Rays fan, and ever since the Rays have been eliminated, he's just not as interested.
Yeah. And
I said, that's the difference between you, a casual fan, and me, a baseball fan. I really, obviously, I'm a Rays fan and a Twins fan, but I'm as engrossed in this World Series as anybody. I'm absolutely loving it. I kind of cringe too when I'm hearing these stories about how MLB is concerned that all the teams that had the best records this year in baseball were eliminated so quickly, and we've got to fix that. Fix it? What are you talking about? Playoffs has always been who's the hottest team at the end.
Yeah.
You won 105 games during the regular season. Okay, once we get to October 1st, guess what? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter one iota.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that 12 teams had a chance to win the World Series. And if one of those teams is your team and you're a fan of that team, that's what a ride you're in for, as you're experiencing now, Dan.
Yeah.
But to try to say, well, we got to fix it so these other teams, these other high market teams, these teams that win all the time, we got to fix it so they can get into the World Series. Why even have playoffs?
Yeah.
Let's just hand them a trophy.
Well, and you know what? They're already doing that with the college football playoff. The fix is already in. Because I put up something yesterday, and I'm more than happy to read this to people. But this is the world we live in, and I want to state this again. This is not an attack on the Big Ten. This is not an attack on Michigan, and this is not an attack on Ohio State. I would say this about anybody with an unfair advantage. Michigan is ranked in the top 4 in the nation. Top 4. I put their schedule up so people could look at it. They defeated an unranked team. They're 8-0 against unranked teams. And they're considered to the college football playoff to be valuable to have in the 4, just as they are every year. And they don't play any ranked teams at all. The only teams they play that are ranked is Ohio State and Penn State. And Penn State and Ohio State are ranked too high because they're in the Big Ten. So then we look at Ohio State's schedule. They beat an unranked Notre Dame team ranked 9th in the country who had beaten 4 unranked teams at the time. So why Notre Dame was 9th? No reason. So they look at it and go, well, Dan, you can't say anything about Ohio State. They have 2 top 10 wins. No, they have 2 wins against teams ranked in the top 10 that had no business being there. Notre Dame, 4 unranked teams. What do I care about that? Penn State was ranked 7th in the country when Ohio State defeated them after defeating 5 unranked teams and a 24-ranked Iowa. And then Ohio State's 6-0 against unranked teams. So you got 2 teams that at the beginning of the season were ranked in the top 4. We're 2-3, and they haven't left the top 4 because they're undefeated. But they haven't played anybody. So it goes to your point, Dukes. What are we doing here? if we're going to make a decision at the beginning of the season of the teams that are going to play for a championship, then why call anything fair? Say everything is rigged, and why even have anything? Why have games? Why have opportunities? To say that the Dodgers lost the series because they were sitting and they had to wait. Well, the Dodgers had to wait, so they got tired and they got unfocused and they just couldn't figure it out. They won 100 games. And you're telling me that they can't figure out their life? They can't be ready for what's to come? So my argument on the other side is Arizona didn't get to take a break. Arizona took a day, 2 days from the beginning of this. They had to play in the wild card. Then you get, a day off? 2 days off? Then you play the Dodgers. Then you get a day off, 2 days off. Then you play the Phillies. You played a game 7 against the Phillies. Now you got to play the Rangers. They had no break. They had a couple days here and there. But I heard somebody say the Dodgers won 100 games. So they should be in the next round. How could they not be in the next round? So if we're living in a world where we're deciding at the beginning of the season who deserves to be there, or we're deciding at the end of the regular season who deserves to be there, why are we playing? Why are we playing games if the conversation's going to be, we got to figure out how to get the Dodgers to the World Series. We got to figure out how to protect Michigan and Ohio State. I don't understand.
The Dodgers, just like the other 11 teams in the playoffs, had an opportunity to prove that they should advance to the next round. They had the opportunity, and they failed. And to me, that's what playoff baseball is all about. You have to prove yourself, and that's one of the flaws. And don't get me wrong here, because I don't have a better system. But when we're basing like college football on rankings, those are just people's opinions.
Right.
Go out and prove yourself, and I look at the Rangers even more than the Diamondbacks. They lost a heartbreaking end of the season game to lose the West Division Championship. Yeah. Then they had to fly from Seattle to Tampa, the furthest route you could take in Major League Baseball, and they had to play consecutively. There were no days off. Now, after a 162-game schedule, I would think a team would appreciate having a few days off to get rested, to get healed for those that have nagging injuries. And yet, like you say, now we're making excuses like, well, they had too much rest. And, that's the coaching staff's job to keep them fresh. Yeah. During 5 days between while the wild card's being played, I don't see that as a detriment at all. I see that as nothing but a positive. The Rangers are the ones who could have used a day or two off. Yeah. But they had to play. They beat Tampa twice, and they had to go up to Baltimore. They were on the road for 3 weeks straight, from the end of the season through the wild card, then through the division series, and before they, got to go home. So. Yeah, let's quit making excuses. Let the teams play the game on the field and prove that they deserve to go on. And guess what? There's upsets all the time. Yeah, and that's why you watch. You're not guaranteed a win. So let's quit trying to plan it that way.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You want to talk about fairness in sports, but where is the fairness? Where is the fairness in sports when these are the things that are happening? You're making excuses for the Dodgers, right? Well, they should have made it. What do you say about the Phillies? Everybody thought that, there's no way Arizona's going to beat the Phillies. Arizona's going to get trounced by the Phillies. What did they say when the Phillies lost? Well, their bats got quiet. They just had an off series. Arizona was better. If the Phillies beat Arizona, nobody was going to say Arizona's bats went quiet. Merrill Kelly stubbed his toe on the way out of the bullpen. Corbin Carroll usually eats a peanut butter sandwich before every home run, but today he had peanut butter and jelly, and that's why he didn't hit one. It's just stop. Just stop. Arizona's better than everybody they faced. And Texas is better than everybody they faced. That's just how it is. That's reality. You got the two best teams. Well, they're not the two best teams, Dan. Atlanta and Baltimore were. Really? Because neither one of them showed up. I mean, the reality of it all is your ranking, or not your ranking, your record gets you in. That's
I heard a line from Steve Phillips on MLB radio the other day that I really like, and he said, "The best team doesn't always win. It's the team that's playing the best that wins."
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. People say, okay, San Francisco, they thought they were the best team in the country for football. San Fran's lost 3 games in a row. People don't want to say Jacksonville. Jacksonville is 6-2, and I still have people walking up to me going, "Your team is trash." And I was like, are you taking a narrative that someone gave you 7 years ago when the team wasn't good, when the team was struggling? I mean, they're 6-2. They have the second best record in the nation of 32 teams. If the playoffs started today, they're third. They could be second. They could be first. So, I mean, it's just, to me, it's an abomination to hear people speak about these teams that don't deserve to be there. They worked hard to get there. 48,517 fans showed up to the game that I went to the World Series at with my dad. Okay? And those people believed. And I want to say something about Diamondback fans. This is what I want to say about Diamondback fans, because y'all need to hear this. At the end of that game, my dad and I are walking out, and we're in the stairwell. I've walked out of games, and I have heard people trash their team. Our games are over. These people are drunk. They're angry. They're screaming. They're yelling. They're swearing. The season's over, 2 games in. What did the Diamondback fans say when I was walking out with my dad? "Let's go D-backs" chant. We believe in our team. That's okay. We'll beat them in 6. That's okay. We got this. We've done it before. We'll do it again. We got it. Diamondbacks. Let's go Diamondbacks. We're going to figure it out. The fans on the way out were saying, we love our team. We respect our team. We're behind our team. We're going to figure this out. We're not dead. We're not done. It's not over. When they were down 3-0 and it was 3-1, the rally towels were out the whole game. The rally towels were out at the end of the game. Nobody gave up. The fans were standing until the last out. So people could say whatever they want to say. But at the end of the day, the teams that are there are the teams that worked to get there, that fought to get there. If you want to tell me the Diamondbacks had 84 wins and the Dodgers had 100, so the Diamondbacks have no business being in there, the 84 wins got them in the playoffs. The 100 got the Dodgers the second seed. The 100 got them the second seed. So that's a good thing. Okay? So you say, well, the Dodgers had time off. They had a week off, Dan. If they didn't have a week off, they would have beaten everybody. Okay, so guess what? So have the Dodgers play in the wild card. Add another team in. Make the Dodgers play. And if they lose, will you shut up then? I mean, the reality of it all is you have to win games to get into the postseason in everything but college football. In college football, all you have to do is 500, and you're going to get in a bowl game, which makes no sense that over 60% makes it, but that's for another story. But you win games to get into the postseason. Your seeding is based on how many games you won versus the other people. So there is a meaning to the regular season because you're seeding and you're trying to get in. So the Dodgers' 100 wins guaranteed them the second seed. It guaranteed them a bye. It didn't guarantee them a victory. And the Arizona Diamondbacks did what they needed to do, and the Texas Rangers did what they needed to do. And we're watching the two teams that did everything that they were supposed to do, beat the teams in front of them. So are they the best team in the country by record in the regular season? No. 90 wins for the Rangers, 84 wins for the Diamondbacks. But are they the two teams that are left to be watched? Yeah. So what I want y'all to do is I want you to give them their flowers, watch these games, and appreciate it, and stop being bitter that your team got bumped out. We don't make excuses, okay? Excuses are for the people that are not working. Because if you're working, you don't have time for excuses, Dukes.
Yeah. And we got to wrap up here quickly, but I come from another perspective too, Dan, that I know is not popular, and I know I'm in a minority, but I'm a firm believer that you kind of brought it up earlier, where the players and coaches, they are giving their all to this cause. The Diamondbacks lost the last 2 games, but it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't for a lack of desire or motivation. In those facets of the game, they were every bit as equal to Texas. But that's the nature of sports, that it doesn't always work out the way you want it to. And when the Rays lost in the wild card round to the Rangers, you know what, Dan? I still came away. Yes, I was disappointed, but I came away thinking, what a great season this has been. It's been so much fun. This team provided so much entertainment and joy, and I'm not going to let the fact that we didn't play our best in these 2 games. That's not going to take away from that. As you share about your experience with your dad, I had the privilege, the blessing to attend the 7th game of the 1965 World Series between the Dodgers and the Twins lost. I had the blessing and pleasure to attend every home playoff game in 1987 and 1991 when the Twins won the World Championship. They won the World Series those 2 years. And to be able to participate, be there at a World Series is an experience that you and I will never, ever forget. And guess what, Dan? The fact that the Twins lost that game in 1965, I cried. But you know what? Today, I look at it as one of the highlights of my life. It was such a blessing to be able to be a part of that. So we're of a mindset where if you don't win, you lose. And I just don't subscribe to that at all.
No. And to get off the mindset that the coaches and players and managers aren't trying, which I love that you brought that up. Nobody comes to the World Series going, hey, I'm probably not going to give much effort. Let's see if we can lose this one. So with that being said, blessings in baseball, and Duke starting things off with a wonderful passage from the Bible. I will stay faithful. Faith of a mustard seed. That's all I need. I'll see you all for Game 5 tonight. No matter what happens, I will be wearing this proudly for the rest of the week because I love you, Arizona, and I loved visiting. So, Dukes, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for ad-libbing with me today, and I appreciate you as always, and I love you, brother.
Remember to reread David and Goliath today.
I will. Talk to you soon.
Love you, Dan. Thanks, bud.
I love you, too.
God bless.
God bless. Coming from Dukes Knutson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Fantasy football is coming up, which means we're going to go a little bit past 11 o'clock. Well, under promise, over deliver, right? So we'll be doing that right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to get into one more fast break, and then we'll get you ready for fantasy football. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to end this video and start a new one so you have the opportunity to connect with us in fantasy football. So for those of you on Facebook and YouTube as well as on Podbean, we're going to end this video, start a new video for our fantasy football coverage coming up